egg has been planted.
Let's give it an actual proper look and see what developers have to say to us, okay? So it is inside Star Citizen a mission to make. All right, let's go.
Missions in video games are more than just a way to tell a story or give a player things to do. They're also a way to drive players to explore areas they might otherwise miss, to encounter aspects of gameplay they might otherwise not attempt. And for developers, they're often a way to push the development of new features, or in the parlance of the mission feature team, new verbs for their systemic mission design system.
All right.
And one new mission or global event from MFT can lead to 10 others being created by designers on sandbox teams around.
That's like an interesting comment they keep doing across like the development of Star Citizen, that like, okay, the one verb is getting done and then it can be used by multiple like not design, but gameplay teams, whoever create the gameplay itself, content teams, right? But then it feels like those content teams are they're non-existent in a company, right? Because there is some feature developed and it just like, in a lot of cases, they forget about it. There's nothing built on top of that feature, and nothing else is getting created with the feature they develop. There's so many occasions with that, and we talked about recently a lot about the scanning and all that. It's like, yeah, they created a system, and then 2 years passed, and there is still no gameplay, right? That's why I always like take it with a pinch of salt whenever they're saying, oh, we're gonna develop a system, and then like actual game content teams can build up on that. It just usually never happens.
Around the world. So on today's show, we're exploring 2 currently being developed, starting with Data Heist.
Okay, Data Heist, let's go. Okay.
So Data Heist is a brand new mission coming to the Star Citizen persistent universe. It will be one of the first missions from the organization of BitZero. BitZero are an organization of hackers. They're kind of rich kids that have kind of taken on the hobby of hacking and trying to almost being Robin Hood. They want to do things, but again, they're a bunch of rich kids. They don't know, ripping off a merchant for such amount of money is even a big thing for that merchant.
So the player will...
Well, the lore behind this is it's already weird, but I don't really care on that. I guess they would have a reputation to build with them too, hopefully. So it's something like a chaotic good org or chaotic neutral, I don't know, something like that. They're not straight up evil, but yeah.
You'll take the mission, head to the location. In this case, we are using the UGFs.
Okay, it's again like the UGFs. It's like... Like, I understand they'd probably just ran out of, like, environments to put missions in, but, like, how many times I can go to those UGFs? I'm just sick of them. All the same thing. Just go to the UGF and do this. Go to the AGF and do that. That is one of the reasons why all of the missions, they just feel like literally the same. Yeah. They just feel like the same mission with a slightly different, you either kill like everyone or you go to this almost same UGF or you kill half of them, you don't kill the good guys. You go to the UGF, you kill everyone and you then punch some boxes. You go to the UGF, you kill everyone and like you take a box, This thing that everything leads to either UGFs or just shooting a random targeted ship in space. It makes all of those concepts so shallow. Unfortunately, I cannot blame that team at all because that's what they have to work with. We just don't have enough environments. I'm more of a commenting on a fact that what it is, right? It's just boop. Again, same place, same walls, same NPCs, just a different button to press. It's yeah.
Once you're inside the facility,
you see?
You'll have to gain access to the main...
Like, how did that differ from whatever we've been doing for years?
Frame.
Okay, so that place changed, and there is some sort of a computer now.
We have hacking still in the PU.
He wanted to say we have hacking still in the development because that's what they said, but yet we just get the same bars getting filled up, just like we have for years, right? Just insert a card and just press buttons to not get interrupted. Bro.
where you can use a crypto key. And there's also other methods that might be at the location.
What was
that's a
that?
crypto
That was
key.
something new.
And there's also other methods that
Attention required, incoming connection from, allow, reject, external request for access, like one new button,
might be at the location
server, blah, 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 dump in progress, total upload progress.
that will help you access those mainframes, but I'll leave that
Another
for you to
bar.
find.
Once
fill.
you've hacked into there, you then have to allow the hacker into the system. And then from that point on, he will do all of the heavy lifting.
And then from that point on, we probably didn't still do a hacking gameplay, so they would do all the heavy lifting. Man, whenever I put it like that, I feel bad. Because again, I understand the limitations and the hours they can put in and all that, but that's not about the team that is doing it. And it's not about the bad decision they did, because they did a decision in the reality they had. It's just, my problem is like why we're still in this reality where this is like it, you know?
With the uploading of the data from the servers. But what you have to do is maintain the safety of those servers so that their upload can
Kill
actually
the NPCs?
follow through.
We will then start to give you a couple of enemies populating the area because they're responding to, you know.
So basically you have to protect the point, just kill more enemies in the same walls.
your invasion of their property.
They'll come in and you'll fight them. At the same time, there's going to be the owners of those servers.
Okay.
Though they're not on site, they actually have the ability to remote into their systems, and they're probably not very happy with the idea that you're trying to steal their data.
Okay.
During the mission, you
Cooling system disabled, enable, data transfer, temperature. Yeah, it all looks like just a cool story. Exactly. It's like I don't really care on the explanations, right? On the lore explanations. It doesn't matter when you play the game, especially when you're not doing it for the first time.
will find that some of these servers will start to overheat. Now that's because the people that own the location are deciding we can't kick out this hacker from the location.
Like, look how much talk is there that is just talk. It doesn't really mean anything. There are people on that location that remotely control it, that decided that they don't want the data get out. Like, all of that is just talk. It's not a gameplay. You know what I mean?
But we can try and either halt you or, you know, stop you from getting the data.
They turn off the cooling on these servers. And so when the cooling's turned off, they're basically trying to melt down their servers, destroy the data. So they'd rather have a scenario where they destroy their data than let you have it.
It's like, they better have a scenario. Who they? Why would they better have the scenario? What it's going to impact if they destroy the data? You know, it's just going to impact the mission you're doing right now and nothing else. And that mission in reality is just go in the same bunker you've been already thousands of times and just shoot more NPCs that cannot even properly fight back.
You then have to look around the area.
Firewall activated, reset code, some code 3515, let's say.
Try and solve why they're overheating, and if you can try and stop that.
Again, I don't want to sound bad, but you'll basically have just this mini game, meaningless, I would say, mini game, because none of that really matters on any scale. It's just another mission. It's not going anywhere, right? It's just that mission. That data is not actually data, whatever. It's just a mission. It's gonna end and it will impact nothing. So apparently we're getting a mission with a bit of a running back and forth and doing some mini games, right?
That will be one of the big situations during this mission.
It basically just continues like that. You have a certain amount that you're supposed to have uploaded, and you need to defend them, and then you have to turn them back on, and it just continues like this until you either succeed or you fail.
Data heist is...
So, yeah. It's just the same bunkers. You know what would be cool? It would be cool if there would be a counter mission by another players. Whenever someone starts this mission, there is a counter mission that pops up, and the mission length is balanced in a way there is time for someone to counter this mission, to fly there, land, and counter players. So you have not always, because not always obviously they will be taken, but you always have that chance that someone will come in and oppose you and try to cancel whatever you're doing. That would spice things up. It's nothing global. We're not talking about like real like player versus player interactions that kind of ripple across whatever's going on in the world. Not a major event, but it would at least bring us to the point of missions that the game back in the day, where there were two factions, cops and criminals, and whenever one faction would take like a delivery mission or whatever, protect mission, something, another faction would instantly get a counter mission to stop them doing that. At least that could be implemented. You have an NPC opposition, right? You have to run around, do those mini games. You have NPCs attacking you, but on top of that, players can come in and support those NPCs. Balance out the payment, balance out the time it takes to do versus the payment, and it might get somewhere. It might get somewhere because whenever you insert a player variable, everything becomes quite unpredictable. You never know who's going to oppose you, how good they are, how well equipped they are. It instantly makes things more interesting and spiced up. If you ever will hear me saying this, devs, you might consider this idea before that thing is released. I think that would really spice up the things. They can even make some progress with those missions. So whenever you start doing these missions at start that give you less payout, you go against like lesser targets, not so important data, whatever, you know, explain it in lore however you want. It's PvP pure only. And then at some point when you breach a certain level of reputation, you can have an option to take higher missions, which would give you a bigger payout, but then they would do whatever text warning that they're much dangerous, like there is like bigger security there, you know, blah, 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 and hint you to the fact that other players may come against you and actually like improve like the payout like pretty much dramatically. So the risk is worth it, because whenever a real player will go against you, you will probably have a bounty, so they will probably be putting you to prison if they win, unless you hack down the comms, but that's like whatever, right? So there is instantly a prison danger. From what we see right now in the video, that's definitely you're breaking the law, you're killing like not pirates but security, you're getting crime stats, so that's one way to prison. It's like actively getting like bounty hunted and directly on the mission. Everyone knows like what's going on there, right? Make it so multiple players can take the response to that mission. Otherwise, players who are doing the mission will cheese it because their friends will take the response and no one else will see it. So something similar to career response when anyone can take it. The same thing has to be with this mission. And then it might get actually interesting. But what if their PvP slider is set to no? Then they don't take those higher missions from the same group that will warn them or hint to the fact that there can be a player encounter. Simple as that. And they will get paid less and they can do whatever they want.
For morally grey people, I wouldn't ever say that it was for the good or the bad. In its first implementation, you will be infiltrating security locations,
Yeah, so you will get crime stats.
UGFs. So at this point in time, it is unlawful.
It's a defend a thing mission, but we're adding some more interesting lore and complexity to this mission, where it's not just defending something from taking damage. We're adding this extra layer of gameplay for a player. It's how they can be destroyed. It's adding extra layers. So it's not just a physical destruction, it's also this concept of the data on this server being destroyed. So we want to...
This is pure BS. There is no concept of the data on the server being destroyed. If you think they've already implemented some sort of a data entity, just don't listen to that. That is pure marketing talk right now. Copium, hopium into your ears. Forget about it. It is pure copium right now. They are trying to induce a like copium overdose on their viewership right now. Just breathe, guys, okay?
Take these two things and have them in one.
My favorite thing about the mission is possibly the things that it could open doorways for. The fact that it's the first mission for the Bit Zero is super exciting for me. I'm a fan of other video games that involve hacking, and having an
I would like to comment on that. There is still no hacking. There is nothing different from what we had like for years now. Don't get me wrong. I like that we're getting a variety, right? It's still getting more different than it was. We have some buttons to press. We have some mini games to play. I'm not saying it's getting worse, but I'm saying yet again, they're representing such a small step as a leap beyond stars, right? That's why I'm being a bit sarcastic right now, right?
Entire organization revolving around hacking is super exciting for me.
The mission feature team's role isn't just to make new missions, it's also to make the tools that content teams will take on and give new life to.
And that's the comment I did at the very start of the video. We hear this argument over the years, but for whatever reason, in so many cases, we end up without content team ever touching whatever the design team did. It's somewhere there, and we hear that like words from CAG over creating tools for content team to do something. But then it's never there. We heard that with many tech, with a lot of tech. When the flight model was reworked, we heard it about like, oh, now like another team can tune this up so it really feels good. It never did. The combat is not there. Now we're getting another rework, by the way, instead of like constant tweaking of small things and maybe even actually getting the current flight model to actually work, we're now getting another rework. We had scanning, literally the same argument. Yeah, I cannot count anymore how long it was. We are not the content team, we're the tech team, we designed the system. Now it's the content team who will give you like all that advanced like scanning gameplay, filters, blah, 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 blah. Where is it? Maybe they just don't have a content team? Maybe that's the problem. Maybe they have to hire a content team and like someone in the upper management just doesn't know they don't have the content team, you know? So many examples went literally the same way. Just watch scanning being reworked again before we actually get any gameplay, right? So we'll see how it's going to be here. It's yet the same story, I feel. And I would like to be wrong. Don't get me wrong. But while it's just talk and no action, unfortunately, it's just talk. I'm not trying to lower the amount of effort these guys put in. It's just what's the actual output for the end consumer, for me as a player, right?
One such way in Data Heist, for example, is a module that's focusing on randomization. They will target a random server in the room just to get you moving around the UGF. So,
guys, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry, but whenever a developer even tells their community that describes a standalone feature, an RNG logic, right? A random logic as a standalone feature, like another like randomization module, basically it's just RNG. It's literally random.org. You cannot pitch to players an RNG model like a breakthrough advancement in technology. You just cannot. Like, who would eat this besides the person who never played computer games? Like, what is this? Really?
That it keeps you on your toes during the mission, but this can be utilized by other designers for powering anything to do with randomization as well.
The only thing that comes to my mind right now hearing him is the fact that for 11 years or how long the development is going or how long they're working on missions, they were not even able to randomize stuff. Wow. Wow.
So instead of always seeing the spawns from the spawn closets being at the same time, 5 minutes in or anything like that, you could be kept on your toes.
And with a mission like Data Heist, that gives us several new tools in the toolbox.
Yeah, but it's always nice to make a meme of a floating dead body on the back screen that probably costed them the same amount of money I could take from CAG and fix up half of the balancing in dogfighting, and just to make the community happy.
And in addition to the standard missions that populate the verse, the mission feature team is always examining and reevaluating the global events that run throughout the year. Do they perform the way we intend they should? Not just in frame rate, but also in engagement, enjoyment, enchantment, entertainment. And if they're not, perhaps they need enhancement or extinguishment. And the new global event Blockade Runner hopes to be just a little bit of both.
We analyzed Ninetales Lockdown, and we
Well, so in Ninetales Lockdown, there were two parts. The boring part and the interesting part. So the boring part was the fleet combat between UEE and Ninetales that never properly worked and no one ever participated. And that was the fun part when players tried to smuggle the goods into the Lagrange point station, and the pirates, which had an official mission for that, tried to intercept them and steal their stuff or just destroy them, right? So that's how Ninetale was, right?
looked at participation in that global event. And we also looked at what players did in it. So participation in Ninetales Lockdown wasn't actually that high. We realized there's no point maintaining this global event if no one plays it, you know? We looked
apparently they thought that no one even cares to fight. And the way it was done, like in a Ninetales event, you could never win the event as a criminal. So the data on the event was gathered throughout all the shards. And that combat part where you would need to either attack or defend the Ninetales fleet, if you were properly defending a Ninetales fleet on your server, the progress bar would still go down because someone was destroying Ninetales on another server. It was so bad, you were not motivated to even start doing that. You could never win as a criminal. That's why the only part anyone was interested in is catching the traitors.
back at the other ones that we had made, like Xenothreat, and looked at the gameplay in those that players do engage with and they enjoy. And that was the aspect of going on those wrecks in Xenothreat, picking up the crates and delivering them. They enjoy this experience, they enjoy working together as a team to do it. So we thought, what can we do with that and make a new event? Something that players will...
Just remove the never working fleet battle part from Ninetales.
Like understand what the event's about. We came up with this idea of Blockade Runner.
Blockade Runner is a new global event that we've been working on. In this event, there's a criminal faction that sets a blockade around some of the space station.
Question number one, what is the criminal faction? Can I play on their side? Because if they're going to tell me that the Blockade Runner is a one-sided event where you don't have the other side, I'm gonna get pissed. And I guess I'm gonna get pissed because I'm pretty sure that's the way it is, because they would already told me that I could join it. Now they're saying criminal faction without even saying what kind of criminal faction. Okay, let's go.
In the universe, this makes trade and travel between these stations problematic. And their goal in doing this is to prevent the trade of one specific material that is important for the refinement of spaceship fuel.
The idea is that a player will be called to help deliver.
So that's him taking the good side. CDF alert. Everest Harbor is under an active criminal blockade. Raw Quantanium fuel experts are being prevented from leaving Everest Harbor. Raw Quantanium needs to be delivered to L102 before it expires. Raw Quantanium can be commercially traded at the admin shop at the affected stations until the blockade has been resolved. Okay.
A new commodity that is involved in the production of quantum fuel and deliver it.
Quantanium at Everest Harbor goes inert in 2 hours. Deliver Quantanium, blah, blah, blah. I see you. Okay.
From our LEO stations, like Everest Harbor, to its refinery sister stations. And we have to deliver a certain amount of this within a certain narrow amount of time.
This material has a short half-life, so if it's not stored properly at a specific facility, then it will expire and become worthless, and you'll have to try again.
Okay.
When you arrive at the LEO, there'll be like a blockade from criminals, and you will have to get through that blockade, land.
7 SCU 124K. I'll do the math later. It's probably a lot of money. Yeah. So you buy almost 18K per unit raw Quantanium.
Commodity as much as you can fit on your ship. And you'll have to take off, and then...
I already see this being a huge major problem when people are gonna get shot inside of the hangars. When everyone will be in a rush, you know, playing as criminals, no one would care. They're gonna get missiled, and then, like, the amount of griefing reports are going to be insane. that I was killed before I exited the hangar. I was hailed before I turned on the engines. Oh, I pointed and looked at them, but I never exited the hangar and they shot me. Oh, I've launched missiles from the hangar, but they shot me in return, but I'm in the hangar, please ban them. Bro, this is gonna be insane. Because since 3.4, I've been telling and trying to talk to CAG, trying to deliver the message of how station shields should work, so none of that is ever a problem again, and they never bothered to listen to this and to make it work, and they're getting these problems all these years because they're trying to achieve some sort of immersion, which they will never will, because players are players, it's just internet game, and it's always going to be problematic.
You'll have to brave the blockade again, and then QT to one of the refineries. On the way, you may be interdicted by more of these criminals who don't want you to get away.
Okay, so you gotta warp
to one of the refineries.
Warp to the station.
On the way, you may be interdicted by more of these criminals.
Interdicted by more of these criminals, which obviously you don't care. Who cannot even fight a interdiction PvE encounter? The problem is, at what spot do bad players come in? That's my main question. Like, where is the spot to catch? Even if we don't have the mission.
Who don't.
Like, CAG needs to make their mind. Do they want to officially make this a PvP event? Because this is how it was before. I'm not talking right now about the players trying to make every event PvP event. I'm talking more about an official stance. We had Xenothreat that was officially a PvE event. Yes, you could come there and shoot people, but it was officially kind of PvE event because there was no bad side for players. Right? Then we have a Ryzen Platforms event that is officially a PvE event. Again, you can go and kill, but it is a PvE event. Now, we have a Jumpdown event, which is a mixed event. A lot of on-foot action, air action. It's a combined arms PvP event. And we had Ninetales event, which was officially a PvP event because you could take two sides and you had tasks for those two sides. And it was kind of piracy event. Now they removed Ninetales and they're giving us Blockade Runner. And until now, I haven't heard a single word about players being able to play the bad side officially. And this brings a question. Why ruin that fragile balance you had in events? Because, you know, players are still going to do that. Just make them do it with honor. Just make them do it properly. Because these interdictions by an AI mantis, like, who is even afraid of them? Like, literally no one.
Want you to get away?
Let's just watch through. Maybe they'll give some answers, right?
Target destroyed.
And then on the other side, a blockade, but you'll have to get through that. Then you will land, and then you will sell.
So that's not a big of a profit. Obviously, this is a work in progress values, but 17K buy and then like 18.4 sell. Basically 1,000 per unit. So 1,000 units is $1 million. With these values, you can make around like 700 to $1 million with one run. But you invest, as you can see, like he's selling for 12.8. Let's say you invest 11 million. No one will do this. This is ridiculous. Obviously, they will run and right now be running and saying, oh, that's just temporary values. But I know how it is. They say it's temporary values when they're caught like hot-handed. But unless you call them out on this, that's how it's going to go in, right? So I better call it out right now that they pay attention to that.
So there's this delivery loop for players. Not every ship will be best suited for dealing with these guys without, some escorts. So the idea is that players will also take this mission and support those other players in combat ships.
Maybe.
Yeah, so right now they are saying about other players working as security for those traders. But again, they are not saying anything about the other side. We're clearly seeing what's going on with this mission already. Here's what I have to say. Those interdictions, we all know how they work. Interdictions, NPC interdictions, like NPCs don't really interdict you. They would create an event. It doesn't matter where you warp or how you warp. They would create an event that will be an interdiction, but obviously NPCs are not there before that event. They're not that they're really camping the warp route. It's just a boom, copium, imagine thing that pops out. What's going to happen is the moment this event is tested, the first day, every single trader would understand you don't warp straight from the Leo station to the refinery. They will die once, and then they will understand. You first go to a random location, and then you warp to the cell location, by which you completely deny any mantising possible done by players. That's obviously, once again, shows how shitty that mantis system is, right? So consistently mantising players will not be possible. Every single trader will learn to make a leg jump, like third jump, right? So that's out of the window. Now, the way warping works right now is you warp to the station at about 25 kilometers, right? First, you get to the cloud itself, to Lagrange point, and you exit the warp approximately around 30,000 kilometers from the station, approximately. And you could argue, hey, but you can catch them there. No, because if they do a leg jump, you will never know at what part of 30,000 kilometer sphere, radius, whatever, perimeter, they will exit, so you can never catch them there. Let's assume like majority of traders will get themselves educated in the first like few hours, and let's assume majority of traders or all of them are doing this because they don't want to die. The only place where you would be able to see them is when they warp in 20 kilometers to the station. At that point, what they have to do is burn to the station and land. So we get into this stupid scenario where they burn to the station and try to land in the hangar, and players who actually want to pirate, players who want to troll and like just annoy people, they will kill them before they reach the station in those 20 kilometers. They will not get into a hangar and survive. It's not a problem. But the players who want to legitimately pirate them, those are the only ones who are getting in trouble, because all of that will happen inside Armistice Zone. The only chance to attack them is under the turrets. Not that it is a big problem. Gameplay wise, it's bad overall, because first, the protections are bad. Turrets won't save them. Second, it's just an annoying combat around station. You initially don't want to do that. Third, it ruins the whole point of escorts they want to do on this stop frame, where there is a flying like caterpillar and there is a Gladius escorting. That's going to be gone. So the players who pirate, they're in this weird scenario where the only thing they can do, instead of like disabling or something, soft deathing, they just have to destroy the ship, and then they have to bring an 890 jump or a Carrack as a workaround to be able to use a multi-tool inside of an Armistice Zone. That already sounds bad. Again, developers, if you hear me, you had a very fun thing going on in Ninetales. A huge blockade dampener around the station. That was a wonderful mechanic. Whenever you take the bad guys mission, you are getting the markers for the runners, and whenever you take a good guy mission, you are taking the markers for criminals inside of that bubble, inside of that interdiction zone, right? So I think that would be the really good thing to take from Ninetales, is that bubble. So the escorts can actually escort and fight it out. The pirates can actually pirate, and it makes sense, right? Because from what I see right now, they're not willing to do that. They're creating another weird PvE event that's gonna get ruined by PvP players anyway, but without any option to properly play it out. Pure trolling and ganking, that's it. No one would care picking up the boxes if they're thrown all around the station. I mean, there will be people who will be doing that, but no one will bother. It's just gonna be pure trolling, shooting down, ganking, and then players gonna complain that this happened, because it will.
You delegate one person with the big tanker ship and others to fend off any enemies along the way. At its core, Blockade Runner is a combination of the cargo transport and selling and space combat.
Yeah, see, they are not saying a word about PvP. Not a single one. It's crazy.
Things I like most about Star Citizen is the space combat. I've never really been much of an FPS player, but I do like space combat, and one of the big elements of Blockade Runner is space combat. The stakes are higher, so if you screw up, you don't just simply regenerate. You regenerate and have to buy all your cargo again.
Yep.
So watch out for that. As the dev, I've been playing this entirely by myself up till now. We're going to be going through some playtests soon, so we'll be able to experience the mission properly, but thus far I've been playing it solo with a ship that can both fight and transport.
What ship are you?
The Cutlass Black. It's the best ship for everything.
So, what did we learn this week? Well, we learned that missions like data heists don't just give players more ways to play, they also give mission designers more tools to play with. That like every other aspect of Star Citizen, global events are continuously evaluated and refined and occasionally rebuilt and replaced when needed. And that Blockade Runner is just that, meant to replace the former Ninetales lockdown before the end of this year. Now, don't forget that there's just 3 weeks until CitizenCon 2953, the now 2-day event emanating from the Los Angeles Convention Center, where you'll get the biggest concentration of Star Citizen info, technology, features, visuals, and more, all beamed into your brains via Twitch. Or if you're there in person, by just following Mark Gibson around all day and asking about his Hercules voice. I can still hear it when I look at the C1.
Yeah.
For Inside Star Citizen, I'm Jared Huckabee. Thank you for letting us share the process of game development with you. And we'll see you all here next week.
Thank you, Jared. What have we learned this week? We're getting another bunker mission where you have to kill more NPCs in the same bunkers and maybe press few more buttons. A PvP event removed and apparently PvE event inserted unless they change their mind and make it actually properly PvP playable. There we go. Thanks for watching, guys. Yep.
So far, yeah. Like I said, I'm a big fan of the space combat, so that element works pretty well for me. Buying and selling cargo is fine too.
Fine too, oh my god.
Cut that part.
How about stealing cargo, huh? Also something I totally forgot to comment about this event. If we are going to steal the Quantanium, those amounts of Quantanium that are provided by the event, I wonder if CAG will accommodate the place to sell the stolen Quantanium. I bet they can forget about that easily. If we steal like multiple C2s of Quantanium and other pirates will do that on the other servers, where are we going to sell that?